This is the thing that we study. For folks that don't listen to our other show, Civic Cypher, that show is kind of our long-standing show, nationally syndicated. We're on 151 stations around the country every week, and we started by, and we still do cover, police killings, police overreach, particularly as it relates to unarmed, marginalized people in this country. The lack of accountability, the indoctrination of the population via what is known as Copaganda, police tactics like this, where they're intentionally vague. So you could read the statement and you wouldn't know if the police injured someone or someone injured the police. Officer involved shooting comes to mind. That's a deliberate phrase used by police departments around the country that was taught to them to separate themselves from any potential accountability, right? If you ever notice people filming police as they're making an arrest, the extra police officers that are getting paid that aren't actively arresting a person are taught to stand in the line of sight so that people cannot film police injustice taking place, right? You obviously, we all know well about ICE and the covering of the faces and that sort of thing. This is to separate these people from accountability. Now, one thing that we know to be true, it's sort of like the Stanford experiments, or the old adage that, to the hammer all the world's a nail, or however that's stated. You give people that type of power. What is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a reason these statements exist. And I can't say it's true across the board, but it is especially true when indeed there is power, right? If you looked at the recruiting tactics of police, they go after people who have bullyish tendencies. And then they put them in communities where they bully the people. And then people like us advocate for those people. And we point out things like this that police do, these little triggity tricks and these little, whatever, so that there is no accountability. And just imagine that. The only time the police ever get caught is when they make a mistake, not when they do something wrong. It's when they slip up and someone finds out about it, or there's a whistleblower or something like that. But this stuff happens all the time. I could tell you stories that happened to me and my own body. I could tell you stories about my cousins. I could tell you about my family. I'm from where the LAPD was, and I'm from there in the 80s. So I know all about that. Okay. And none of those people ever got caught for that. It didn't mean it didn't happen. So the times that we're talking about is when the police get caught doing what they do all along. Right. So if you look at data, you can see the corruption. But there's so many people who have been propagandized into supporting the police by watching the police shows on TV. That's intentional, by the way. That's intentional. Go back to Dragnet. You'll see the origins of Copaganda. Look up the term Copaganda, and you'll see exactly how it was intentional by the police to have police painted in a positive light, right? And us, the society, we've been indoctrinated, myself included, to root for the police. And so we don't hold them to the same accountability standard. We come up with weird stuff like, well, there's some bad apples. No, there can be no bad apples if you have a gun. Like there can be no bad apples if you fly an airplane. But there's a stunning silence when we make those connections because we've been indoctrinated.